Alright guys, welcome to the channel. So when I was looking to learn how to ride a motorcycle, I had already owned the KLR and I didn't know how to ride at all. So I looked for a video specifically on how to learn how to ride a motorcycle on this bike, and I didn't find one. There might be one there now, I don't know, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to ride a motorcycle starting on a KLR. It's a big tall bike, it's kind of heavy, not necessarily the most beginner friendly motorcycle, but it's what I chose, and maybe it's what you chose. This is a tutorial video, so if you already know how to ride a motorcycle, this video is not for you. This is for people that do not know how to ride a motorcycle, or maybe you're just looking for some entertainment. Anyway, so first things first is I'm going to go over the position and location of all the controls. You probably already know this, but if you don't, I'll go ahead and do a quick overview. Okay, so this is not the stock lever on a KLR. This is a tusk lever, and the reason why I bought this lever is because with the boots that I have, it seemed like it was kind of tough for me to get my foot underneath there. So if you do have a KLR and you do plan on riding with some kind of MX or an adventure style boot, I would recommend getting a aftermarket lever, because it'll make it easier for your boot to go underneath there. Anyway, so this is your lever. This is how you shift your motorcycle, right? So right now I just put it into first, so I gotta make sure I put it back into neutral. So the positions on the transmission is gonna be 1, neutral, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you have a 6 gear, 6. Obviously the KLR doesn't. So you can go into neutral from first. You can also go into neutral from second. So from first, you do like a half tap and it'll go up to neutral. And if you're in second gear, you can also tap down. It's a little tougher, I find, but the KLR is pretty forgiving. So if you just tap down from second gear, you'll go into neutral, and that's where you want to be most of the time when you start your motorcycle as a beginner. So there's your shift. We'll walk around this side, and this is your rear brake here. So this is your rear brake, and this brake here is going to activate the rear brake. Obviously you don't want to slam on this brake too hard, because you might send your motorcycle you might send the back end going sideways, and as a beginner that could be pretty scary, potentially dangerous. So I'm not going to go over all the blinkers and stuff like that. If you haven't taken a motorcycle safety course, I highly recommend it. If you're active duty or if you're a veteran, they will give you a discount. It's usually like, I don't know, $250, and that discount is very significant, so take advantage of that. So I won't go over all the main things, I will go over the main things and not the headlights and stuff like that. So here's your clutch. I will show you how to use this clutch, and I'll show you what the friction zone means and how you can get this motorcycle moving without using any throttle, only the clutch. This is basically your safety right here. This either gives or takes away all the power from the transmission. So here is your horn, right? It's obviously off right now, so it's not going to come on. You might want to use that to get cars to get out of your way and stuff, but this is a basic video. So here's your start switch. Most motorcycles are going to have the start switch here. On the KLR, it's right here, big red button. Up is kill and down is on. Okay, and then right beneath that is going to be your start switch. Right now the motorcycle is in the off position, so nothing's going to happen, right? And this right here is your choke. So your choke, basically what it does is allows you to get a fuel mixture in your carburetor that is rich. So you're gonna do that if your motorcycle is cold, and that'll allow you to start it. During the warm-up period. Once it gets past that first notch, you can go ahead and just bog it all the way down. But if it's still pretty cold outside, even when you bog this all the way down, you might still get the machine to stall. So just be mindful of that. Don't worry about all these other things here. I can go over those modifications in a different video. We're just doing basic stuff here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop on the motorcycle. I am at an incline, which is kind of weird because this motorcycle with used tires tends to want to tip over that way. So as you can see, I am on an incline, and usually when I grab it, I try to cinch it towards me so I know that it's actually going to be on the kickstand and not want to tip over, which it has on the street, which really sucks. So because this is a tall bike, I'm going to show you how I mount it, and I basically mount it like a horse. Like, if the peg here, I treat it like a stirrup on a horse. So what I'm going to do is, you don't have to do this if you're really tall. I'm only 5'10", so I can get on it normally. I'll do it right now just to show you guys. I'll tend to just grab a hold of this, pull it towards me a little bit, and then just throw a leg over. And I'm okay if I do it that way. If you are a little bit shorter, or you don't feel comfortable doing that, maybe you have a lower inseam or something, or whatever it is, you can always just mount it like a horse. So basically, keep the weight of the motorcycle on this side, because this is where the kickstand is, and you're going to step on this right here, on this peg. And as you can see, I can put all my weight on this peg right here, and the motorcycle's perfectly fine. So what you want to do is get up, grab both handlebars, and you can go ahead and throw a leg over it. Now from this point, I'm leaning my weight towards this side of the bike, because obviously I don't want it to tip over. As soon as I go neutral, the bike's going to want to go neutral as well, and possibly even tip over, especially if you're on an incline. So from here, I'm just going to go ahead and sit down and try to touch my feet on the ground. Okay, unfortunately, this bike is what it is with the kickstand. People do modifications to try to mitigate the lean angle on that kickstand. But if you don't want to do any of that, then just doing that should be fine for you. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and put the kickstand up, and I'm going to, is that on? No, it's not. Okay, that is the pillion eject button. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on, and it's already a little bit warm, so you'll see that come up a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not, but I'll turn it back off. You'll see that needle drop a little bit, and that's just basically sensing the engine temperature. So kill switch is off. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on, but before I do that, I'm going to press in or hold in the clutch and the brake. You don't necessarily have to do this with the brake, but I feel myself moving around a little bit, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to put this thing into neutral, and you will see the neutral light come on. If the neutral light does not come on, and you felt something shift, you're probably in second gear, so you went too far. So if you do that and the light did not come on, you're in second gear. If you want to tap it down from second, you might go too far. Sometimes it's a little hard to find neutral on this bike, so if you just kind of let it roll backwards or forwards, you'll be able to find neutral just a little bit easier. So right now the neutral light is on. The way that the motorcycle safety course is going to train you is anytime that you're starting the motorcycle, you want to have your clutch engaged, right? Because you're a beginner and you need to know how to do things properly. Because if it's not engaged and you start this bike, it's just going to shut off on you and possibly, lean forward, kind of like a lunge forward, and maybe even buck you off. And this bike is not light, so if you're not, if you don't have big old gorilla legs or have a lot of upper body strength, it's going to tip over on you. So anyway, enough chit-chatting. We're going to go ahead and get the bike started up, and I'm going to show you guys the basics of riding the KLR. So right now, my my feet are not flat foot on the ground. As you can see, I'm on my tippy toes here, on both feet, tippy toes. If you feel more comfortable having at least 1 foot on the ground, you can kind of lean over and put 1 foot on the ground. And usually if I do that, this foot definitely not going to touch the ground, so I'll just go ahead and set it on the peg. You can do this, right? Or with the other foot, like that. I recommend trying to at least tippy toe, you know. There's a tip that you can do. You can actually put some gear in the back, maybe you know, a kettlebell or something, and it'll actually make your seat go down a little bit more while you're learning to ride, so that you can feel more comfortable with both of your feet on the ground, or maybe a little more meat on the ground. Okay, so kill switch is off. I'm gonna turn it on. Clutch hand is in, and I'm gonna go ahead and push the start button. So this bike is already warm. Yeah, man, this freaking flies. The bike is already warm, so I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna try to go this way and show you guys what the friction zone is. Now the friction zone is basically that point in your clutch hand where it's basically going to start to either bog down if you don't have enough throttle, or it's going to let the engine start taking off when you actually do give it a little bit more throttle. Okay, so we're going to learn about the friction zone first, and I will show you what that looks like. So as I'm releasing the clutch, you're going to hear the motorcycle start to bog down a little bit. So here's a little more, little more, little more. Actually, you know what? I lied. I'm in neutral, so nothing's going to happen. You got to shift down into first gear first. So now it's going to bog down. Sorry about that. Okay, so now as I let the clutch out, you see I'm not hitting the gas at all. Okay, pull the clutch right back in, hit the brake. I'll try that again. So right now I'm just gonna let the clutch go, and you're gonna see the motorcycle start moving on its own. Of course, there's gonna be a little bit of resistance on the engine, so it's gonna bog down a little bit. That's when you need to give it a little more gas, right? But right now the motorcycle is moving all on its own. So right now the clutch is almost all the way out, and if I do let it all the way out, it's gonna go ahead and stall on me. So I'll try this uphill. Maybe you guys are gonna try to do this uphill, see what happens uphill. I think I might have to actually give it a little more gas. Let me get back to this area over here. Okay, right here's good. Okay, so we'll try that again. We're gonna let the clutch hand go just a little bit, and you'll hear the engine bog down. I'm actually kind of on a downhill, so I'm cheating a little bit. Let's go try this again right here, because this is less of a downhill. So I'm letting it go, letting the clutch go, letting the clutch go, and it's gonna begin to just move on its own, right? So the clutch is not all the way out yet. Okay, so from here you can't actually just kind of just chill like this, right? And then from here you can give it a little bit of gas, right? Because the clutch is not all the way disengaged, and you're only giving a tiny little bit of gas, so you can start moving, right? My feet are just kind of dangling off right here. Okay, you can do this if you want. You can put your feet on the pegs if you feel like you need to do so. So from here I'm kind of just chilling. If I keep the throttle and I let the clutch go all the way, right? Now I'm just kind of cruising, right? And here we go. We're just cruising. You don't need to whiskey throttle it, okay? There's no, like, you know, the less clutch you have, the more throttle you need to give. That's kind of a myth, all right? On this motorcycle right here, you just give a little bit of throttle and you can already just be chilling like this, okay? And then from here, if you feel like you're bogging down a little too much, and I'll demonstrate that, kind of, okay, it's bogging down, just give it a tiny bit more gas. So, you know, you can ride in a circle. This is a pretty wide circle here. you're typically gonna find out that making a left turn is usually easier than making a right turn, because when you're making a right turn, you're gonna be putting pressure on the handlebar, and it's gonna feel a little bit weird when you're putting pressure and trying to keep the throttle from, you know, turning. So I'll do a left turn so you guys can see that. So I'm still in first gear, boys. So I'm just kind of kicking it here. No need to go any faster than this, you know. And this is it right here. Now you're just cruising. The hardest part about riding a motorcycle is actually not riding fast at first. It's actually riding slow, because that's when you're going to tip over, right? Because you're going to be probably too scared to go really fast as a beginner. So when you're going to drop your bike is when you're moving slow. So from here, if you want to shift into second gear, right, let me get a little bit of speed. And this is kind of like, let me take my time explaining this, because when I was trying to learn this was kind of messing with me a little bit. Sometimes you will miss second gear if you don't go up all the way, and you'll end up in neutral, and you'll end up doing this. You'll end up giving it a bunch of gas, and you're not going anywhere. And as a beginner, you're not used to you know, missing second gear, we call it. So you know, you got to be mindful of that. You got to make sure that your foot goes all the way up and you hear that nice solid click. So what you want to do is you want to bring your clutch hand all the way in. So you want to get a handful of clutch, right? You don't necessarily have to let go of the throttle right away, right? Because all of the engine power is going to be removed as soon as you pull in your clutch hand. So I'll demonstrate that right now. I'm going to keep my throttle exactly the way it is right now, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull the clutch in. I lied. I just did that out of habit. So I'll try it again. So I'm going to keep the throttle hand right there. See? So you hear the engine revving up. That's because the throttle is not doing anything. So now when I pull the clutch in and I let the throttle go, right, now I'm just coasting, right? So from here, if you gotta make sure you have enough speed, because if you shift into second without enough speed, you're gonna start to bog the motorcycle down. And I'll demonstrate that here like this. It's gonna start to kind of putter, right? You'll hear that. You'll hear that. If that does happen to you, there's two things you can do. You can give it a little bit more gas if you don't feel comfortable giving that. See, it's kind of sputtering right now. So you can give it a little bit more gas, or what you can do is you can actually hold the clutch in a little bit more, right? If you let it go all the way out already, you can hold the clutch in a little bit more, and then just kind of give it a little bit of gas. You're basically taking the power away from the wheel again, so the engine's gonna have a little less resistance. So right now you'll be like, see that? You hear it puttering like that, because it doesn't like going that slow in second gear. Okay, so I'm gonna shift back down to first gear, and I'm gonna gain a little bit of speed and show you guys a nice smooth, as smooth as I can anyway, shift to second gear. Okay, so I'm gonna just be chilling in first gear right here. I'm gonna grab a handful of clutch, shift up, throttle down, and then just let the clutch go slowly, right? This is beginner stuff here, guys. Okay, if you're on the street, you can do that a little bit quicker, and it's gonna be one solid motion. It's not gonna be three things that you're thinking about. It's just gonna be, you know, throttle down, clutch in, and shift up. So let's get a little bit of speed here, because I am shifting back down at first. So I'm gonna go get some speed here, and that's it. See that? That was all one motion. That was just one motion. So you don't have to think about, I have to do three things in sequential kind of order. It's just one motion, and you'll get used to it. See, it's bogging down, so I kind of hold the clutch in a little bit, and it stops the bog. It stops the bog. Stops the bog. That's a t-shirt. Stop the bog. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna shift back down to neutral here. Alright guys, if you guys have any video suggestions about the KLR in specific, or you know, any motorcycle for that fact, go ahead and leave your questions down there. I can come out and show you guys, you know, if you guys are having an issue with a certain thing, or I'm kind of jumping the bike when I'm shifting to second or third or something like that. Leave your comments down there, and I'll try to go over it as best as I can and try to get you guys riding on your KLR on the street as soon as possible. I'm going to be having some videos coming up here where I am showing you guys how to ride this big old thing off-road, and maybe a little bit of off-road tips coming from somebody that did not grow up riding motorcycles. So this stuff is all new to me. I've only been riding for a couple of years, so I like to do this right now when the newness of the motorcycle and the scariness of it is kind of new to me. Relatively new to me, that way I know what a beginner is thinking about and going through when he's riding a motorcycle. Anyway guys, I'm gonna have a part 2 to this video. Part 2 is just gonna be me showing you guys a few exercises on how to basically slow maneuvers. Peace.